Welcome to Chai After Dark, everyone. I'm Shabnam, and I'm here with my co-host Sameem, as always. But
Yes.
today we have a special guest, Noureen from Muslim Matchmaker. Hey, Noureen, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well, thank you.
Good. So we are super excited to have you. Like I told you before we started recording, I was like, she's super cool. I would love to be her friend. So I'm going to ask her if she wants to come on the show and chat a little bit about the namesake, which is what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into that, tell me a little bit about your experience on the Matchmaker. How did you end up on the show?
All right. Well, thanks for having me. First, I'm really excited to
Yeah.
be here. I ended up on the show just by, there's an interview process, just timing, knowing the right people, being the right fit, I think, kind of all got brought together. I think that it was also kind of, if we're gonna be real, I don't think there's a lot of people that were like, I would love to be filmed while
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
dating and have my mother watch me, even though I'm,
Yeah.
more of, a more conservative religion. And so
Right.
I don't think there's a lot of people that were like dying to be on camera. So I think it made it a little easier to get on.
That's interesting. We talk a little bit about that too. Like, we are a very private culture, and especially generation to generation. It's one thing to be relatively open with your generation of people, but like you said, no one wants their mom or their grandma seeing them date and all that. So, no, I know that's something we touch on often.
But I would say Muslim Matchmaker, it was a little, maybe not G-rated, but it was certainly PG-rated, right? Or what do you guys think?
Yeah. I mean, I think it had to be, right? I think that you're dealing with a population that, for lack of a better term, can be sensitive. And I think the production team was very aware and didn't want to be insensitive, right? So I think they were very respectful in the way that they handle it. And it was a very wholesome show. I do
Yeah.
believe that, it's tough to do things like this because if I'm just going to rip the band-aid off, the biggest haters of the Ummah are the Ummah. Like,
Yeah.
and so even after this,
Yeah.
I personally think a very wholesome show, there was so much chatter and hate about the show from people who are like our age, like our generation. It's not just like the older generation.
Yeah.
There were people that were just like, this is not representative of Islam, or like this wasn't needed and all of this stuff. And it's just like, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It is interesting because I feel like what's representative of Muslims is kind of the bigger question, right? Like, that's what it was supposed to be. That's what I took it as, right? It's like people are who they are. This is something we deal with and we talk about a lot. Like, people want to be who they are in a small circle and then be perceived as maybe more wholesome to a larger circle, right? And I'm not a fan, but it's hard when you grow up like that. So
Yeah, I mean, you live double lives, even when you're not trying to, right? Which we're about to see, when we start watching the namesake, right? You live a double life. And so some people are okay with showing it and some people aren't. I just didn't understand the hate with the people that decided to show it by being on the show. You know what I mean? It's
Interesting. Yeah.
I think.
Are you speaking, Noureen, of contestants that were, is it a contestant, by the way, or is it a candidate? I don't actually know.
No,
somebody that's on the show?
No. I think just overall like public reaction,
Yeah.
right? I think
Interesting. From white people that I talk to, and I don't mean white people, I mean like Americans, like just, whatever, like people that aren't us, and I don't try to divide people, but you know what I mean? They really liked it. Like, they enjoyed the show. Shabnam, I think we got a couple emails and they're like, we learned a lot, stuff like that. So
yeah,
without a show like that, and then Yasmin went on The View, all of that is so relevant for Muslims, and it's nice to see people be normal in a situation where they have to find a partner. So that's why I'm a little surprised. No Muslim walked up to me and was like, I can't believe this show exists. But I don't know. I didn't talk to
Yeah. I mean, people have walked up to me with very positive reviews, so I don't want to negate, right? That's certainly true. I just think, speaking from the perspective of like a lot of the stuff that was being sent to me on TikTok, social media and things like that, because I love my friends very much, but they were like a little army. I think they all were just like, look at this. I'm like, I don't want to look at it, actually. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I think that the experience was good. It was a wholesome show, and I think we got into this topic because despite being a wholesome show, there was still some negative
Yeah.
feedback. And that happens, that's life, right? But
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I think that actually brought me closer to my faith. I think it helped
Mm-hmm.
me understand, myself a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
And I ultimately think that it was something that was really helpful for a lot of people. I've spoken about this before, but forgive me for being redundant. But I think
No, go ahead.
my mission really was, of course, to find love, but to really show other young women or any women,
Yeah.
anybody,
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
can be, you know, out here trying to figure out your faith and
Yeah.
curious about it without being perfect, right? I think people have this reaction to anyone who doesn't fit the cloth of a perfect Muslim. And they're just like, well, then you can't be Muslim at all. And it's just like, who are you, God
No.
bouncer?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
things where I just was like, if I can be on the show and show other people that you can,
Yeah.
have hobbies and things that you like music. That's a weirdly contested thing amongst the ummah, where some people are like music
Totally.
is haram,
Yeah.
and other people are like music is whatever. And you can still
Yeah.
be in that area and still be faithful and still be curious about your faith and grow in your faith. And so because
Yeah.
of that, I think it was a good experience.
That's great.
I think you did just that. You are a professional, beautiful, well accomplished, you know who you are, amazing woman. And that's a type of a Muslim woman that exists. And you inshallah will find love. You deserve love. And I'm
Wait, how do you
sure
wait. How
that
do you know she's not in
what
love or with someone right now?
I'm just saying, like,
We
well,
didn't
if she is, then she's gonna find it more in that.
I'm just
It's gonna
I'm
grow.
joking, Noureen. You don't have to tell us anything.
It's okay.
She's like, I'm not going. She's like, I'm not going
He's like, I'm not going to tell you anything, actually.
to.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I agree with Shabnam because I, like I said previously, I feel like people in the United States, like either they're like terrified of Muslims just by general sentiment and movies and news, or they're just so curious, or they're just like a third of them are probably like, I have no thoughts. So at least 2/3 of people probably got a positive representation of Muslim men and women. A couple of the men I wasn't a big fan of, though. I'll just say it. I don't,
Yeah, same.
like the guy with the helmet. I don't know who that guy was.
Oh,
And then
yeah,
everybody
that,
else was
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, the guy with the helmet.
Did they follow you around like legitimately, like all day, or was it very like stop and go?
No, a little bit of both. So we'd
Yeah.
have set times and then we'd film, but filming usually takes a while because sometimes they, don't get things. They would need to film
Mm.
again. But I think, one of the things that's was really surprising is the number of people that like came up to me after the show and was like, "Oh, that was scripted." And I was like, "No, it was not scripted." Like that was my
Oh,
real
wow.
life, guys.
Interesting.
Like, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Oh,
so I think that's like that misconception, right? Because it's like, oh, you're filming and you're stopping and you're moving place, and it's just like, yes, you are doing that, but you're also like, it's very real, you're having real
yeah.
conversations, you're doing real things, Of course, there are certain portions where if there's a weird pause, right? They might be like, talk about the weather or like talk about your favorite food and stuff like that.
Mm.
But like that's what would happen if you were texting your girlfriends on a date and was like, this is guy is boring. You know what I mean? No, no one was boring.
Yeah, yeah.
For the record, I'm just saying, it wasn't this thing where it was just like, oh, behave this way and act this way. It just was like, no, that would be weird.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
That's
I don't know
cool.
if I'd go on that show only because I wouldn't trust the producers, and sometimes I'll say shit, right? And that's the only thing. Otherwise,
I feel
if
like
I had like
I
full autonomy of my own editing process, then I'd probably do it.
I feel like you'd get more screen time than you wanted because you say random shit.
Yeah, I know. I hope my mom's not listening to this. She's gonna be like, "You should go on the show, season 2." But no, that's cool. That's great, Noureen.
We
Yep.
can connect you to Yasmin and Huda.
I actually met Yasmin in Orange County for like, I don't know, like 4 hours.
I
We
can
talked for a
remind
while.
her.
No, that's all right.
No,
She,
like, no, I
I
saw
can
what
just
happened.
DM her. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. You know what? I actually went to Yasmin's relationship seminar,
Oh, wow.
like her threes of threes. What's it called? Remember I sent you a video or a picture of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? The rule of three. Rule of three. That's
Yeah.
what it was.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
went to that in like April or something. And then there were people from Muslim Matchmaker there. And I can't say who because they told me not to. And then Yasmin was like, she's like, yeah, there's no season 2, but you can cast if you want, if there is. And I'm like, no. I'm like twice divorced. I don't think it's a good idea. I think they would delve into that storyline a little bit too much. We can cut all this out, by the way, too.
So we'll get into it, and stay tuned at the end because Samim, you're going to have a little, we call it tea time. And so Samim's going to have a little bit of tea. We'll talk a little bit of the inside scoop at the end.
Perfect.
So today we're covering The Namesake, which is directed by Mira Nair, and we're going to get into it right now. So the beginning scenes, they start off with a bunch of men on a train, and one is an older desi man talking to a younger desi man named Ashok, and they're discussing traveling. So the older man tells the younger one, Ashok, that he should travel abroad because he's young and he can. And Ashok says, you know what? My dad always told me I could just read books, and that's just as good as traveling, and you don't have to go anywhere. And the guy's like, no, that's not true. And just then the train crashes, and Ashok has the Russian author Nikolai Gogol's book in his hand, and the book is called The Collected Tales, and he crashes. And later in the movie we learn more about this scene, but for now we just see that like Ashok obviously survives, because in the next scene we see him at a girl's house named Ashima, and he's asking for her hand. So his parents ask her whether she'll be able to go halfway around the world. She says, won't he be there? And they all laugh, and Ashok and Ashima get married and do a first look Indian style where she covers her face with bond leaves. So I was going to ask you, Noureen, I haven't seen this particular type of first look. I've seen it done with a mirror. And I know that they talk about being Bengali, but then I also noticed they're from Calcutta. So I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that, because I know you are Bengali. And so I was wondering if you ever saw a first look like this, and explain a little bit about their culture to us,
Sure.
if you can.
So you can be Bengali from the region of Bengal, right? So
Mm-hmm.
Bengal as a whole, it's Bangladesh and then West Bengal. So Kolkata, West Bengal, which is part of India. I
Oh,
think, don't quote me, but partition happened, right? And people kind of got
yeah.
divided. And so you have Bangladesh, which is formerly East Pakistan, and then the
Yeah.
Liberation War.
Yeah.
So then you become Bangladeshi because you're from Bangladesh. But Bengali is just a region of Bengal. And so if you're from West Bengal, or if you're from Kolkata, you're also Bengali. Everyone speaks Bangla. The cultural, traditions are very similar, if not the same. I'm sure there are certain differences. There is a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more of a difference in religion. I think that if you are from
Mm-hmm.
Kolkata, it's more of a Hindu representation. And then in
Mm-hmm.
Bangladesh, you have a more of a Muslim representation, but that doesn't mean that it's a silo, right? You have Muslims,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but you have Hindus who are in Bangladesh. And so you kind of have a mix of both. But that's really what the difference ends up being, is
Mm-hmm.
it's a little border.
Yeah. Like it always is, right? Okay, cool. That's helpful. Yeah, because I was like, wait, Calcutta, but Bengali? I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Ashok and Ashima, they end up leaving India for Queens, New York. And in New York, they experience a lot of stuff that I feel like is pretty typical of immigrant couples that came in the 1970s and 80s. So she feels like super alone when he leaves for work. It's snowy AF outside, and she gets depressed. Then she puts masala on Rice Krispies and adds like peanuts
Yeah.
into it to make like a desi snack. and and then she goes to the laundromat, and there's like unhoused, unwell men there, and she's like trying to do laundry, and she does it wrong and shrinks his clothes and like all this stuff. So this reminds me a lot of hearing about my parents' experience coming at a time to the US before the internet. I'm wondering, like, when did your family come here, and did they come directly to New York? What was their experience like?
Yeah, so my dad actually moved here first when he was in Texas in the 70s. And so
Mm-hmm.
he was in Texas first. A lot of my dad's side of the family came to New York first, to Queens, Astoria. Queens
Oh,
was a
cool.
lot of their,
Nice.
the first kind of place, and slowly into Jackson Heights. And then, you start working, you start saving your money, you start buying houses in Long Island. It's kind of just the East Coast brown trajectory, really. And so
Okay.
my dad went from Texas. He was in school in Texas. He moved to New York. He went back home, married my mom. They had an arranged marriage. She moved into my grandparents' house in Bangladesh in Dhaka, and then she joined my dad in New York. So it's around the 80s.
Yeah.
And so definitely a similar vibe that you see in the Namesake, where, my mom,
Yeah.
she's a very intelligent woman, but this was a completely new land for her. And so she was, I think,
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a leg up where there was still some options here. But we really,
Mm-hmm.
I was born and raised in Jackson Heights, so we really saw the growth of, well, having like just one little tiny shop and then two, and then suddenly you have like a Sobji Mandi, and you have an Apna Bazaar, and the
Yeah.
Bell Brothers. And so when my mom first came to this country, she would have to kind of make little concoctions like that Rice Krispies treat, not perhaps
Huh.
as intense, but she
Yeah.
would find different things and try to make it work. And then slowly,
Yeah.
well, actually not slowly, quickly, I think there was more options available. And so
Yeah.
that's stuff that, she'll still tell me, where she's like, when you were little, there weren't like all this masala and stuff that was around for me to get. I would have to just like concoct something.
Or they bring it
Yeah.
back, right, with them. The
Yeah.
suitcases filled with, what is it, Shabnam? Like Kit Kats and
Oh my gosh.
Well,
masala and Centrum, the vitamins, stuff like
Hang,
that.
yeah, that
And what?
Tang,
hang.
Oh,
Tang.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Tang.
Yeah,
That's
there's things you take and there's things you bring back and it exchanges, right? Like,
My dad just went to Bangladesh last year.
uh
And I don't know if you guys are familiar, but do you know what gur is? It's like the hard
gur.
jaggery.
the sugar, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
gur, yeah.
I
Yeah.
had to buy this man an extra suitcase to take back because he was like, I have 10 pounds of gur and I don't want to let it go. And
10 pounds?
I was like, TSA is not gonna let you in with this. They're gonna throw it out. And he was like, it's
Oh my
worth the
goodness.
risk. And I just was like, all right.
How did it package? Did it look like drug smuggling? What
I
did
did
it look like?
newspaper, plastic, and I
Oh man,
just was like,
that's a
Yeah.
little too drug muley.
I know, I hope TSA doesn't want this because he got it
Yeah, I
in.
hope-
But like, I just was like,
What's he gonna do with it? Like bun or a sugar or like a drink, sugarcane
yeah,
drink? What's he gonna
no,
do with
he
it?
likes to eat it with his rice. So a little bit of rice, a little bit of milk, and a little bit of the
Oh.
jaggery.
Oh my God, that sounds so good.
I'll
That
try
sounds
that.
so good, actually. Yeah. I was remembering a story of my mom when she first came here. She came in October 1973, and my dad would go to work, so she'd watch TV. And then after like a couple weeks, she told my dad, she's like, dude, what is wrong with Americans? All they ever have on their TV is like vampires and devils and ghosts. And she's like, this is such a weird place. And he's like, don't worry, in 2 weeks it's going to be turkeys because it was just right around
It's Halloween.
Halloween. Yeah, it's Halloween.
That's funny.
And so he's like, just wait till after Halloween. She's like, okay.
That is really funny.
So eventually they start getting used to America, as all of our parents did. And Ashok teaches Ashima about the train station and how to get to Fulton Fish Market. They end up bonding and they end up making love, and they fall asleep. But then Ashok wakes up with a nightmare of the train crashing, train crash that he was in the beginning of the movie. And Ashima kind of comforts him by singing and holding him close. So we get these like bits of scenes where you see kind of like the depth of their relationship, and you do get to see like a beautiful example of an arranged marriage that worked and they like fell in love afterwards. And I think that's really beautiful because we don't often see that.
Arranged marriages
We
that
don't
work?
we don't see like
That's a
the
controversial
process.
statement, Shabnam.
No, I'm saying like we don't in film, right, see how people do fall in love after marriage, right? And I
Yeah.
think this was beautiful to kind of see like those intimate moments between them.
Yeah. Noureen, we just filmed an episode for a movie called A Nice Indian Boy. Have you seen that film?
Not yet.
That one, so the lead, Karen Soni, he's gay in that movie, and then his parents know he's gay and they're okay with him like dating men. So he finds his own partner, and then his sister is in an arranged marriage, and that doesn't work out. So shows both instances of one sibling went this way, one sibling went the other way, and Shubnam's right. Like, the arranged marriage did not have a happy ending in that movie.
Yeah.
And I ruined the movie for everyone. I'm sorry.
No, I love spoilers. I hate waiting. I'm very impatient.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I'm 35 and not married. My God, it's like, bitch, we don't. Sorry, I cursed. You have to like.
Oh, you can please
Figure out what you
curse
think.
so everyone doesn't say
So
some
you
mean
feel better
curses too
about
much.
yourself.
Yeah. And that's also why Shubnam said making love. She didn't even say having sex, because we're not even allowed to say that now.
No, because it was making love. It wasn't like,
No, I know,
it
it was
wasn't
very
like
sweet. I get it.
Succession.
Yeah.
It was very sweet. Yeah.
Shubnam's the only one
but
married
yeah.
here, so she's the one that she liked that scene. Whatever. I'm just
Okay.
kidding. dude. Just
Anyways,
keep going.
I don't even know how to address that. It was a super sweet scene. So they made me think of how when people come here as immigrants together, they get codependent on each other. And I feel like there's no way that you can't, right? Because you only have each other and maybe like a few other people, but you don't have like your family and other people to lean on. I always think about, okay, in healthy relationships, you can't put everything on your spouse. You have to like have your friends and hobbies or this or that, whatever. But like you can't really do that when you're moving halfway across the world before the internet. So it gave me a new perspective of my parents' relationship and immigration, because I'm like, they had no choice,
Right.
but to be codependent.
But I also think that trajectory, apparently I really love the word trajectory today, but that kind of falls deeper, right? Because that codependency in our culture is seen as very normal, right? And I understand where it comes
Yeah.
from, because again, you have so many people in arranged marriages who are like, here, marry each other, make a life.
Yeah.
And that, coinciding with a lot of our parents who immigrated to different places, whether it was, Europe, America, other places in the world. And so that codependency then becomes this thing where it goes on to your children, right? I can't
Yeah.
speak for your experiences, but I think that for a lot of South Asian men and women, learning and healing from the fact that you don't have to be codependent on an individual or your parents, right? Because that codependency isn't just limited to a marriage, right? The codependency
Right.
extends to children, right? Your mother is codependent on
Mhm.
you. Your siblings become codependent on you if you're the oldest. So like, like that.
Yeah.
And then when you start your relationships, you kind of see that type of dynamic as normal for the most part. And that's when you start
Yeah.
having some fights, you start having some arguments, or that the individual might be codependent on you too much. And that's when it kind of like you have
Yeah.
to break as a person a little bit to then be like, oh, okay, this is not okay. It is okay to depend on each other, to have partnership and stuff like that. But sometimes that level of codependency, yes, it brings you closer, but it also can become a little toxic.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
so correct.
I know
Yeah.
this is a very sweet
Yeah,
scene in
I
the movie,
totally
and
agree.
I love them in the movie, but
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
It's maybe not even a South Asian thing. And, my ex-wife was white, and I don't really know how to say it other than she was so codependent to the point where like it sort of dissolved our marriage, and her
Yeah.
family was sort of the same way. And they just couldn't really do anything without each other. Like, they're American, they're from here, they grew up here, they don't really have any other outside influence culturally. So I saw like heavy codependency, and then even my ex-in-laws on each other, two white people that knew each other since the late 70s. Like, they couldn't live without each
Yeah.
other.
yeah, I think the
I mean, I think that
Extremely,
exists.
like, codependent
Go
to the
ahead,
point where
Noureen.
it was like, if you're not around, then like there would be like
an issue.
anxiousness, a lot of texts, a lot of phone calls.
So I think the one that I would push back on that was, I think in other cultures, it's not as common. In like South Asian or Middle Eastern cultures, it's like the standard. It's like, why do you have to go to like your aunt's in-laws' grandson's birthday party? It's just like, I just have to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think that's partially the culture. And then it added on to it is like this immigration, especially of this like 60s to 80s time period. I feel like those people, because there was like not internet, there wasn't as much going back and forth, ability to like maintain relationships was harder. I think it was really hard on them. But
And what do you call it, Shubnam? Deranged for someone to come over in the 70s when you don't know anyone? Use a different word, not deranged.
Yeah, I forget what I said, but I
Psychotic.
said like you had to be kind of insane to just be like, okay, I'll just like go to another. It would be like going to another planet right now,
Yeah.
you know?
Back then, yeah.
And yeah, so
I hate to admit this, but you know, when you were younger, I'm sure your parents have said this to you too, but they looked at you and like, you're only going to understand when you get older. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, mom. Now I'm older and now I look at them and I'm like, holy shit, lady. You moved across
you're
the
right.
world,
yeah,
you got a job, you learned another language, you went to like learned how to use the
yeah,
subway by yourself. Like,
Yeah.
you
yeah,
did all of that and then dealt with
yeah,
me and my teenage angst. Like, you know, insane.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so insane. Well, of course, Ashima, gets pregnant after that night of lovemaking, as we discussed. They realize that unlike India, you can't leave a baby unnamed for a while. And so in the hospital, they're kind of pushed for a name. So they name him Gogol after Nikolai Gogol, but that's supposed to be his nickname. And then his real name is supposed to be Nikhil. So is this also a general Bengali tradition or just from their part?
No, I think it's a general Bengali tradition. So you have a daknam, which is like
Uh
your
huh.
nickname or your house name, and then you have your government name. And so your
Uh
daknam is
huh.
what, your family calls you, the community calls you. Like that's just like it's your house name. It's your comfortable name. And then
Yeah.
your other name is supposed to be like government paperwork, birth certificate. So my daknam is it's my locket, is Mo, which is it means honey. So in Bangla,
Oh.
Bodhu means honey and Mo
Oh, okay.
short form for that. So that's like my doc nom, which when I was younger, I would never give it up so easy. But when you get older,
Yeah.
and
So
then
did
my
you
government
you
name.
didn't go by your Docnom growing up?
No, because everyone would always think it's short for something else. It was such a like boy
Totally.
name, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also kind of like the idea of like it's sweet that only my family calls me this name and only people that are
Yeah.
close to me. And now whoever watches this podcast, know to call me that.
Yeah.
Hey, don't call her Mo, everyone, and we're gonna start cussing at you. But Shabnam, we have like Pinky and Lucky and Pretty. Pakistanis have
Those are
a lot of.
Punjabi ones. I feel like Punjabis have a lot of nicknames also. I don't see that as much in other South Asian subcultures besides Punjabis. And then now I'm learning about it with Bengali. I mean, I obviously don't know everything, so there could be like a bunch of that. But I'm Memon, and I don't think we have a little bit of that, but not the way I feel like Punjabis do, and
Like we
not the
do,
way it was
yeah.
described in this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Well, nobody ever gave me a
Yeah.
pet name, so maybe one day.
I have like a secret family one that only a couple of people call me that I will not disclose. But I will say this story of when I was in my early 20s. Somebody was trying to set me up with this guy who's like a family friend of a family friend of a family friend. And that guy came to visit my family and he heard my brother call me this name and he started calling me that name like one day later and it
Ugh.
it was like yeah I was
No.
like okay I was like hell no boundaries I
Yeah.
can't do this. It was such a killer of any attraction. Yeah. So.
I'm not gonna say the name.
Yeah, don't. We'll tell Noureen after. So about 6 years later, they end up having a baby girl. They call her Sonia. By this point, they seem to have like a small community of family friends to celebrate with. But I feel like they had a lot smaller of a community than I feel like I remember growing up with. And so I was like, is this an East Coast thing or what? Because I feel like we went to Davits all the time on the weekend and stuff like that. So I was wondering, like, did you feel like they had like a smaller community than you experienced?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I always equated that to the timeline because
Mhm.
when
Mm,
the timeline of the namesake versus growing up in the 90s, I think that there was that huge
Mm.
push of immigration in between.
hmm
I'm hesitating to say this because I don't know if I'm right and I hate not being right, but I think that, the 60s, 70s, was more of an immigration where the visa type was the one where you had to have a higher degree. It's
hmm
America only wanted you if we had like something to offer through your intelligence. And then in the
Yeah.
90s and the 80s, there was more of an opener visa process. And so because of
Mm.
that, there you saw a lot more people migrating from Southeast Asia. And so I think that's why I never really picked up on it because I did grow up with a huge community. I had multiple ones, right? I had my neighborhood community, then I had my family, their community and their friends and things like that. But I always equate it to just the difference between the 60s and the 90s.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, remember Shabnam when we did the Chippendales on Hulu? It has
Mm-hmm.
Kumail Nanjiani in it, Noureen. In that series, they were saying in 1976 or something, there was only 51,000 Indian
Oh
immigrants at that
yeah.
time, which is nothing compared to
And they're
yeah,
they were probably all men, and then they all
totally.
went back and
Yeah.
like married somebody, right? It's like
They didn't
yeah.
all go back and marry someone, probably.
No,
I'm
Most
sure
of
some
them.
people
Most of
found
them.
some, wives here.
in
We
Friends
California,
of
know
ours.
some of those,
Yeah,
but
we know
yeah.
people that married whoever they married in the
in
United States. Nothing wrong with that.
in California, there's a long-standing history of Punjabi Mexican heritage.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
In New York, there's a book called Bengali Harlem. So a lot of Bengalis lived up in Harlem and they married African American women.
Mm. Yeah.
That's really cool. I was reading a little bit about both of those. I wanted to look more into it and I haven't gotten to yet. But that's really interesting because before this, like 60s, 70s, like you're coming for school or like you were talking about if you had quote unquote something to offer. Before that, there was a different wave of immigration where a lot of people came and became farmers
Mm.
or I'm not sure what the history behind the Harlem migration was, but definitely in California, it was a lot to do with farming. So,
Yeah. I think there's farming, railroad
yeah.
infrastructure, and then a
Mm.
lot of people
Yeah.
jumped ship. They were working on the
Yeah.
ships that were coming in. And then when they would port all throughout the eastern seaboard and I think part of the Gulf of Mexico, when they would port, a lot of the men that were working would jump ship. They would just
Yeah.
make a new home and
Mm,
figure it out from there.
Yeah, people, we didn't show up out of
interesting.
nowhere, okay? Like it's 150, 200 years, people.
Yeah.
Not our listeners. Our listeners are very intelligent.
So then we see at school, Gogol wants everyone to call him Gogol. He doesn't want to go by Nikhil, right? So we kind of talked about this like with you, Noreen. He was the opposite of you. And then the parents get kind of annoyed about it. And there's this funny thing where his dad says, with the president named Jimmy, there's nothing we can do about it. And I was like, that's kind of funny. But that means Jimmy Carter was president. Wasn't he president in the 70s?
Yeah, this scene,
I
he
don't
was
know. Yeah.
president 76 to 79, right? Ronald Reagan
Okay.
came in like
Yeah.
80 or
It
81.
wasn't
So
Yeah. So his name starts to play like a bigger role as the movie goes along, but I think it's really hard, as we all know, kind of growing up with a unique name in America. I mean, Noreen, I feel like yours is pretty easy, so it shouldn't have
yeah.
been like too hard for people.
I got it
yeah,
easy. I will
But
admit.
I got it bad
I
in the
got it so
80s.
bad.
Yeah.
Me too, because somehow the B and the N together, it's like very challenging for people that there's two
What did
consonants
you get?
together, and it's like me,
Yeah.
Shabam, Shanam. There's a syllable break there.
Mm.
It's
I
hard
mean,
for
that's not that
people,
bad.
but.
I
I
don't
mean,
think
as long as they're trying. They used to call me Seaman. I
Oh,
know.
that's pretty funny.
So I know.
no, it's not like I've always pushed back. It's not hard. Like you learn
It's
to
not
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
you learn to say Michelangelo.
Yeah.
You can
Exactly.
learn. Yeah. So
You're so correct. Dude,
Yeah.
last weekend I was in Vegas for my cousin's wedding, a desi wedding. And my parents came, right? And then my dad's like, I was helping him check in, and the bellhop or the valet guy's like, "What's your last name?" And my dad said Sultan. I was like, "What? You say Sultan? You're 80 years old. Like you don't say Sultan like I do." And then he just like looked at me. He's like, "You're trouble." But I was so surprised. Like the dude barely knows English. My dad's cool with it. Noureen, don't worry.
I think our parents are more just like, I don't want to deal with it. And then we have this resurgence of like, no. Like,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah, that's exactly
Yeah.
it. If I say Sultan, my daughter makes fun of me so much. Like,
That's funny. So at this point in the story now, we skip ahead 10 years. Like you said, we get to see Kal Penn. He's in high school. And in his English class, they start talking about his namesake. This is why the movie's called The Namesake. So his namesake is Nikolai Gogol, the author that we mentioned at the beginning of the episode. And all his classmates make fun of him because Nikolai Gogol was a guy who was depressed, never had kids, and then committed suicide. And he asks his parents why they named him that. And his mom tells him not to be disrespectful. And she says, and don't call us guys. My parents had that pet peeve too. Did your guys' parents have that pet peeve?
I couldn't even say guys. I couldn't even get there. So, no, I never had that.
I didn't. I pushed back a lot. Like I, to this day, will still call either of my parents bro.
No way.
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, not always, not like as like a singular term, but sometimes I'll just be like, bro, you serious right now?
Yeah.
And then my mom will
Well,
be
my daughter
Yeah.
calls me bro and dude. I
yeah,
I don't know where these kids are getting it from. I know where they're getting it from, but you
Yeah.
know what I mean.
yeah. But
Yeah. Me and Samim are a little too old for the, like, we miss the calling your parents bro, but my nephews do it too. I see my nephews do it to their
This is some
parents.
shit, man. If like, it's kind of like, so everyone knows Taylor Swift has a boyfriend, right? And everybody knows who the boyfriend is. Look, I barely knew. My parents came here to my house and like a year and a half ago, and they came here during the Super Bowl when it was like all blowing up and stuff. Then I turned the Super Bowl on, and my dad's like, "Oh, that's the boyfriend." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" We're like watching the Super Bowl. I wasn't even allowed to say boyfriend in high school,
yeah,
and then
no,
he like just walks into the house and he knows everything about Taylor Swift's love life.
the way that the things that I was so scared of doing when I was younger, I do now. I am fascinated by myself. And I think that's just like the time, the youth, Gen Alpha, Z, whatever you
Yeah,
want to call it. Like they just
Yeah.
have really pushed the envelope. And I think partially also like my parents are tired. I always have to say, like, I have my father, my sister has a different father. They is biologically the same man, but in
Yeah.
spirit
yeah.
and personality,
Yeah.
not the same man. The stuff that my sister gets away with, I would never. My dad once, this is my story. He's going to hate me if I ever say this, but whatever I'm going to say it anyway. I remember this one vivid moment, core memory. I got beat with an umbrella because I got
Oh.
a crop top puffer jacket. That was like the rage when I was a teenager.
Oh yeah.
Crop top,
Yeah.
like J-Lo puffer jackets from Baby Fat.
Uh-uh.
I bought it with my own money. I was working at the time.
Yeah.
Bought it with my own money, walked in thinking I was the cutest thing ever. And he
Uh-huh.
beat me with an umbrella because he was like, why is this jacket so short?
Holy shit.
This is the
Yeah.
man that now I
Yeah.
pull up, like wear like no sleeves in front of. And I'm just like, I don't know what timeline I'm living in, but I'm just living it.
How much younger is she?
11 years.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So
There,
my,
that's a huge age gap, right?
she wears
For
crop
desi
tops.
immigrants.
I got beat for a crop jacket that was covering my body. She wears actual crop tops.
That's yeah.
I'm pretty
Yeah, my
conservative.
sister.
I don't think that's cool. I'm just kidding. I just
His daughter wears crop tops. I've seen her, so
Does she
he's
really?
just joking. Yeah.
yeah. She like what's a crop top? I'm not 100% sure. Like it's
It's just where you could see your midriff a little bit.
oh yeah. I mean that's like when she. It's not like exposed.
No.
Is
I mean,
it?
it's just like we wear them with Langos all the time. So it's just like, what's the difference?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. So back at the house. What did I transition too
I
fast?
was just laughing at that huge 10-minute segue we took.
Yeah. Sorry, I yap a lot.
Well,
No, this is exactly why
no,
we're
it's
here.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my sister's 8 years older than me, and sometimes she'll talk. I'll be like, who was your dad? Because that wasn't my dad. Like,
I feel like your sister got away with more though, being the older one. And I kind of feel like my brother was the same thing. My older brother got away with more, and then my parents were like, "Oh shit!" and then they locked me down.
it was different things
Yeah, it was
in
like
different
different.
ways.
Yeah, I don't know.
So then we see Gogol's in high school. He ends up graduating. And right after graduation, he smokes pot with his friends and he's still complaining about his name. His struggle with his name is still playing a role in his life as it will continue to. And then back at the house, he hangs out with relatives and family friends. And he tells an auntie he's going to Yale. And she says, have as much fun as you want, but marry a Bengali.
What does that mean?
Okay, yeah. This is kind of what you hear, but you don't hear. Like normally you don't hear have as much fun as you want. You just hear the second part. But I mean, maybe for boys, I don't know.
Not me.
Yeah, not you. I think maybe for some guys, they do hear that. Do whatever you want, but come back and marry a Bengali or a Pakistani or whatever it is, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't have a lot
So
of men in our audience, but if anybody grew up desi conservative, email us chaiafterdark@chaiafterdark.com. Let us know.
okay. So Ashok gives his son Gogol a graduation present, and it's the book by Nikolai Gogol. And Nikhil Gogol, the son, Kal Penn, doesn't turn the music off while his dad's trying to give him this present. That annoyed me. I was like, have some respect for your father.
Yeah, this kid sucks.
Yeah, no, he really did.
Yeah.
You want it to
What do
be.
you
Yeah.
think, Noreen? Like, this is like, I don't have a son. I have a nephew that's 17, but he wouldn't. I don't know. I'd be pretty upset if my daughter wouldn't turn the music off if I'm trying to talk to her for like a minute. Not like I wouldn't beat her with an umbrella. You know what I mean? Just like,
Yeah, we don't condone beating children or each
yeah,
other. This
exactly.
podcast is not condone violence. I do not condone violence. But no, I remember that scene and I just was so irritated at him because I just was
Mhm.
like, all right, dude. We've all been there. We've had the teenage angst, but it's just like there are certain things that you
Yeah.
just don't do. And that was
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
You know what's funny
Yeah.
about this scene, Shabnam, is that he's playing
What?
his character from Harold and Kumar. And right before
Yeah,
that scene,
kind of.
there's an Asian guy that's like just looking at the camera and he doesn't have a word. And it's literally Harold and Kumar next to each other. And then it cuts to
Oh.
Kumar, Kal
I
Penn,
wonder if that was
Nikhil,
intentional.
Gogol,
That is
at the
funny.
house. It's so strange.
Yeah.
Hold on. When did Harold and Kumar come out? Now I'm going to make this connection.
Yeah. You gotta look it up.
It was 2004. Namesake came
Oh,
out
so
in
it was after.
2006.
Yeah. Okay. That
Goofy-ass
is really
movie.
funny.
See, I'll get a screenshot. I'll send it to you. It looks hilarious.
We have to find out if Mira Nair did that on purpose.
I wonder if they smoked the same weed in both movies.
That's. They kept
Noreen.
it for 2 years. Yeah, I'm sure.
Sorry.
No.
Yeah.
It's called Chai After Dark.
I'm just making a
No,
face at you because
Noureen.
I'm just like, no, they wouldn't smoke the same weed as 2 years later.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of
yeah.
drug references in my repertoire, thank God, so I'm not exactly sure how long.
Okay,
the
but you're
shelf
not.
life-
Anyways, you don't have to. Don't worry. Okay.
I don't have to fake it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All my cousins
All
are
right,
listening.
So, all right. So then his dad basically gives him the book and tells Gogol that he connected with Nikolai Gogol's book a lot because Nikolai Gogol spent a lot of time outside of his homeland, just like Ashok did. And he says, there's another reason, but doesn't tell Gogol what it is. And he just says, we all came out of Gogol's overcoat. One day you'll understand. This is just this, like, these sentimental little pulls on your heart that this movie has, which I think is really beautiful. And so then we have this set of scenes where the family travels to India over the summer. The kids are hot, they miss home, but they're really kind of interested in the country and interested to explore. And this all kind of like struck a chord with me. Have you ever been to Bangladesh, Noreen?
Yeah, I love going back
Yeah.
to English. It's just like,
Yeah.
I know it sounds insane, but I feel like when you go back to the place that your family is from, like something like in
Mhm.
you knows. Like, your soul, your
Mhm.
spirit, like something in you stirs and it's just like it knows that it's like home, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like you can see that in these kids, but you also see they're not used to it. So there's discomfort about things. And I think you said it really beautifully. That's what I can relate to, like simultaneously feeling discomfort, but also a sense of belonging. It's like weird, but it's also beautiful in a way.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's different. I don't know if I used to call myself a third world princess because I'm just like, my body, my cells know how
I love it.
you know what I mean? But I travel, alhamdulillah, a lot, and I have realized
Yeah.
I am not a third world princess. I like air conditioning.
You're a
Yeah.
first world
Yeah.
princess.
I was like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
We all are. Are you kidding? Look, I've been to Pakistan before. The last time I went was 1997, but I was
Oh, wow.
18. I was
Hmm.
older than I look, I guess. But if we didn't have satellite TV like MTV Asia, I don't know what I would have done there for 3 straight months because my mom was out all day shopping and my dad was in the United States working. So I just watched TV. So my experience was exactly what it would have been in the United States, except it was MTV
Interesting.
US versus MTV Asia. And it ends up being the same videos anyways.
So last time I went was 2004. I was a teenager. I went for my cousin's wedding and to get like stuff for my sister's wedding, and it was really fun. And remember going as a kid and like driving and listening to Pakistani music with the windows down and the hot air and the great street food and drinking sugarcane juice and eating like the actual cane. You can like chew on it and suck the juice out. So I don't know. I have great memories, but I don't know that I would be able to like hack it at this age.
Really?
So
We should take a Chai After Dark trip out there and we can record live
yeah,
with all our
maybe
know,
one day,
yeah,
one day.
with all our monetization.
The problem is we might not be able to come back at this point if we did.
Yeah. I know.
So the next day they go to Agra and they see the Taj Mahal and they take a train there and they're all mesmerized. And Gogol decides that he wants to major in architecture after seeing it. So then back in New York, we see that he starts college and makes that his major. And then the next scene we see, all of a sudden it's a few years later and he's graduating and he's at actually his girlfriend's graduation party, this rich white girl. And she's of course calling him Nikhil because he started going by that in college, or she's calling him Nick for short. And after graduation, they decide to sleep together and he tells her he wants to marry her, even though he knows his parents want him to marry an Indian girl. So I feel like this is a typical desi guy phase, whether they go through with it or not.
Why are you looking at me?
No, you made I'm just asking you.
Why is Noureen
you're
leaning
white
in?
on white?
Yeah.
Did you just say that?
Yeah. This was pretty on the money. Like, not a real proposal. I was not in bed with her, but Hassan Minhaj has a whole thing where he did propose to his fiance in bed, by the way. So I didn't do that, but we were driving back from my parents' house from dinner, and I was like, should we just get married? It was literally just like that. So
I had a nice proposal, Noureen. Don't worry. This is not how you can look forward to better. Okay. Mine was like, it wasn't like there's people and more power to them that like get the photographer and the surprise and the whatever. But mine wasn't like that. It was like sweet. We were hiking in this really beautiful trail that was like sentimental to us. And then we sat on the steps in front of a waterfall. It wasn't like a get down on one knee thing, but it was like, he started saying all these nice things to me. And I was like, yeah, okay. I was like confused. And then he had the ring.
That's so
gave it
sweet.
to me, so. Yeah.
I'm going to make fun of Brian next time I see him.
Why?
I don't know. Because he deserves it. Let us have our thing. You guys have your own thing. I have my own thing with your husband.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying shit.
Yeah. So Gogol is working at an office as an architect, and then his mom calls him, and his girlfriend is like feeding him sushi. She's kind of annoying. She's just annoying. Like, she's a caricature of a white girl. I don't feel like she's like a real white girl that would like get with a brown guy. But anyways, so he tells his mom he's going to Oyster Bay for the weekend with his girlfriend, even though his mom wants him to come over because his dad is actually leaving to work in Ohio for 6 months. And he's like, no, I'm going to Oyster Bay. And then his mom like hangs up kind of upset. And so he ends up deciding to go actually stop over there on their way to Oyster Bay. And the mom has a funny scene in the library where she works with her friend where she's like, what kind of girl is called Max?
It's a good point.
Yeah.
It's a good point, lady.
Some people might think Shabnam is a hard name, but Max is a weird name for a girl. So, hey,
Yeah.
Exactly.
So as they go to his parents' house, he tells her girlfriend, no hugging or kissing. I've never seen my parents touch each other. And she says, how depressing. And then at the house, she calls his mom Ashima and gives a gift basket to his dad and calls him Ashok. This is weird, right? Don't you guys think this is weird?
I think it's weird, but I know that Americans or other people of the Western influence, I don't know what the right word is to use, are okay with that. Like, I have friends who are not South Asian and their parents will just be like, yeah, just call me Pam. And I'm just like, Pam?
Ugh.
I don't want to
Yeah.
call you Pam. That's weird. Like,
Pam.
yeah, it's just weird. But it's interesting because like even I have friends who are African and Latin and stuff like that, and I don't call their parents. I literally, if I don't even know their names, it's either auntie, uncle, or like Jessica's mom. Like,
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
calling someone by their first name, that's weird. Like,
Yeah.
if my
No, I totally agree. Go ahead.
if my friend calls her grandma, that's my grandma too. I'm not calling her by her
Yeah.
real name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shabnam, what do you call your in-laws?
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
But then when I got married, that's what he told me. He told
Yeah.
me to call them their names. So I feel weird every time I do it, but I just do it because that's what they want me to. And so then like, okay, thus far, he doesn't really call my mom anything because he's always talking to her or she's there, or he'll say your mom. But one time he wrote her a card and he wrote her first name out. And
That's
so
cute.
I'm like, yeah, but then now I'm like, we're going to my cousin's wedding. So I think I'm going to tell him like in front of them, just call her like auntie.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'll probably tell him to do that. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird every time for me, but it is what it is.
I didn't call. I have 2 sets of in-laws from the past, and my first in-laws were Iranian, so my daughter's half Iranian, half Pakistani, and they told me to call them by their first names like 25 years
Oh,
back,
really?
and I was like, I'm not doing that. Are you kidding? So I literally just didn't call them anything for like a decade. And then my second ex-wife, my white ex-wife, I started calling her mom. Like I started calling her mom, and then we got divorced like 3 months later. Because I didn't know what else to call her. So I was just like, I'll just start calling her mom. And the mom liked it.
Well, that's what you're supposed to do.
Well, I wasn't going to call her Ann Auntie or Elizabeth Auntie or, Pam Auntie.
Your in-laws are
Pam
supposed
Auntie.
to call mom and dad.
Yeah, I mean, I was cool with it. I was going to call him Daddy, though. That wasn't going to happen.
No.
Or Dad.
Daddy is not for people older than 12.
Okay.
Like,
you know
just
what
call...
Shabnam, my daughter calls me
What?
Daddy.
Okay, but she's still a little bit little.
She's going to be 17.
Okay, but that's okay because you are her real dad.
Now I'm freaking out.
And she'll
dude.
grow out of it in a couple
I'm gonna talk to her
years.
after this.
She's going to go to college and someone's going to tell her like, ew, don't call your dad daddy. And then she'll stop.
She already, around her friends, she'll say dad.
See?
Yeah.
And at home, it's always, or if we're just alone, it's, daddy.
Yeah.
Is she tricking you and you don't realize it? Like, is she using daddy when she needs something? Like, because it's like a softer, sweeter,
Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm not the most aware individual. Like I'm pretty spacey sometimes.
Yeah. When I want something from my dad, I call him Baba. But if I need to just talk to him, it's Abba. Yeah.
That actually makes sense. Yeah. I'll get back to you and I'll keep that in mind, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
See if she goes back and forth.
See if she's manipulating you.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of calling your in-laws mom and dad unless like they really want you to, like from a cultural thing or something, that's fine. But it's a very different relationship. And also if you don't get married when you're like 20, I think it's also different. So I don't think you need to call them mom or dad. That's weird.
At least this lady was trying, Max. Like she's trying to be nice, right? Like I know she's annoying, but she is putting her best foot forward.
She was trying.
Not much else
what
she could do. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the meal together, Ashok tells Nikhil to go to the grocery store with him to buy ice cream. And in this car, we get this whole backstory of why he named his kid Gogol. So Ashok finally tells Gogol when the train crashed, he was holding Nikolai Gogol's book called A Collection of Tales. And it was a super bad crash. A lot of people died. Ashok was found with the book in his hand, and he kept thinking of the old man who was telling him before the crash that he should travel, and that's why he decided to come to America. So Gogol asks his dad if his dad thinks about the crash every time he sees him. And Ashok responds saying, not at all. You remind me of everything since. Every day since then has been a gift. And that was like a super sweet scene. This movie's such a tearjerker in so many ways.
Do you think, really quick, and, so we can move away from the tears, we're South Asian, we can't handle our emotions. I'm just kidding.
Go for it.
These little things that he told her not to do, like, don't hold my hand, don't talk about sex. And then A Nice Indian Boy movie that we spoke about last week, Shabnam, they had the same exact scene in that movie.
Yeah.
Before
I know.
Jay goes to the house and he's like, don't hold my hand, don't do this, don't do that. If we just remove those little things from our culture, do you think anything could happen in terms of a collective movement? So if everybody was like, oh, shit, 1.3 billion South Asians in this world, now we can hold each other's hands in public. I feel like that would break such a barrier.
Yeah, but also it's like, why do we need to do that? If that's not in our culture and it's weird to do that in front of your family or something, like we shouldn't need to do that if we don't want to.
No,
right?
I agree
like,
with you. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But Luke himself wants his wife to say, I love you. The previous scene.
Yeah.
And she's like giggling about it. If he wants it, and he wants it, like you can see it in his face. He's a great actor, by the way, Irfan Khan.
Yeah.
He wants it. And she giggled at him, but she didn't mean I don't love you. She meant I love you.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. If people were a little bit less open, because you're not getting much out of not holding someone's hand.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm saying this shit out loud. Maureen? I'm actually not convinced either way.
I think having more open boundaries is definitely beneficial, right? I think based on comfort. I don't know if I would still hold him by his hand in front of my mom. But it's actually
Yeah.
took me like years and years and years of, having that boundary, right? Maybe that needs to be broken. But it's kind of one of those things where I kind of think about what else it represents, right? Not being able to hold your
Yeah.
partner's hand, not being able to be vulnerable and be completely yourself. Because again, I think in a lot of South Asian cultures, you're leading multiple lives, not just a double life, like multiple lives. Wish you could put it on a resume, right? Like just balancing
Yeah.
the act of like 7 different personalities because you can never fully be yourself in one place. And maybe you're right, right? Like maybe breaking that one barrier of like physical affection being
Hmm.
shown would help you be more vulnerable and kind of saying I love you and things like that. I definitely think that in line with the codependency, right? Communication and lack of communication skills in a lot of, again, South Asian households leads to,
Yeah.
relationship issues for the children, kind of not just romantically, platonically with friendships or in
Yeah.
families. Learning to communicate with your parents is also just a hurdle. I think I recently, had a conversation with my sister and I just was like, our parents don't know how to communicate that well because they were raised under different circumstances. We have the privilege of healing. We have the privilege of
Hmm.
communication and the privilege to be able to differentiate. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it sucks. And sometimes you just want to just be understood. But it is definitely a privilege that we have the capability of being vulnerable and having the skills from the internet or from outside sources, from therapy, to be able to go back to our parents and say, hey, let's try this way. And so perhaps breaking the stigma of holding hands and affection can lead towards something like that.
Yeah. One of my husband's biggest complaints about our culture is he says, I don't like feeling censored. I thought about it, I was like, neither do I, but I just do it, like I just censor certain ways in different situations and that's how it is, right? And I'm like, wow, what a white man privilege to be like, I just want to be myself in every space, right? Like, I'm like, okay, like that's not something that I experienced, but sure, we'll figure it out.
The concept of unconditional love is so strange to me. Like, my
Yeah.
parents love me. Let's not get it twisted, but like, and they love me
Yeah.
so much. Well, at
Yeah.
least a few percentage of that love is conditional. Like, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, it is
Yeah.
conditional.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I think like I've had, roommates and stuff before with dogs, and I feel like dogs are like the best. Like, that is unconditional love. Like, you could yell at that
Yeah.
dog and he would still be like, you're the best thing in the whole world, But beyond that, like, yeah, censored. Like, you censored, make sure you're like behaving a certain way, there's boundaries. But that's how it is. And we can only try to push the envelope a little bit and change a little bit. And, it does yield results. Mashallah,
Yeah.
subhanAllah. Like I have been working on my
Yeah.
parents for a long time. And like
Yeah.
are able to communicate differently. We're able to kind of have more deeper conversations. And like I said, it's a privilege, right? You have to take the first step. You can't always expect your parents to
Yeah.
understand or know. And so breaking norms, like holding hands and stuff. I don't know, but you have a daughter. So what you gonna do when she comes home and holds her boyfriend's hand in front of you?
Oh my goodness. Oh my God. I can't. I don't even know what to say. Samim is never at a loss of words.
Speechless. Yeah.
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 No, I've
Well,
thought
you'll
about
have
it.
to work
Yeah.
on.
Like 3 weeks ago, she was talking about dating and stuff, and I'm like, my God. But everything that is in pop culture references dating, and my parents used to like say that kind of stuff. But then I was like, Mom, you watch and read Pakistani dramas, and all of it is about. It's literally in the name, drama. Like it's all about like
Yeah.
relationship this, relationship that. They're slapping each other in Pakistani dramas, so it's pretty violent. I don't know if my daughter came home and the dude was like, I don't really know how to describe it, but I think me and her are like actually very, very open, which is pretty rare for like a South Asian person like myself that grew up super, super restricted. I grew up like extremely restricted, more so than a lot of like I can't really get into it here because it doesn't even sound real, but with Sophie, like it's not hard. I don't know, Shabnam, you hang out with us a
Yeah.
lot. Like it doesn't seem hard, right? And she's almost at college anyways,
No.
so it's not like I have that
She's a
much left
good
to do.
kid. Yeah, she's a good kid and she has two good parents. So that goes a long way. And you aren't immigrants with immigrant trauma.
Yeah.
So I think that helps.
Yeah,
So
so arranged marriage. There it is. I'll find her someone, don't worry.
So then we get into this really like deep part where, obviously Ashok goes to Ohio to teach, but he ends up getting sick and going to the hospital. And eventually Ashima gets a call from them, or she actually calls to try to find out what's going on with him. And turns out he had a heart attack and he died. And she was a really beautiful actress in this, like really conveying sort of this grief because like we talked about, it's almost like they're codependent, and she really completely depended on him, and him dying, you see how much it kind of like takes its toll on her even in the beginning. And then of course Gogol does this stupid kid thing and like doesn't answer her calls, and then finally he finds out from his sister, and so he ends up going to Ohio to identify the body and then to get his things from the apartment. And he looks at his dad's shoes, and the shoes have played a role in this also, because you see that was one of the first things Ashima noticed about him when he came to her parents' house. And then she told him that she liked his shoes. That was part of the reason why she said she'd marry him. And then we see Gogol looking at his dad's shoes after his death, and is kind of this like powerful moment. And then he goes and looks at his bed, and he breaks down in his dad's bed. It was sad. It got a little teary-eyed at this point.
Yeah. No, it's a tough scene. Yeah. That scene is pretty embroiled in my head since 2006. I actually watched this movie in the theaters totally like 20 years back, and that empty apartment looked like my apartment that year, and I was like, oh my God, dude, I'm going to be alone. Gosh. I was going to be alone forever. Like, I had that thought, and it like it's just like there's nothing wrong with that apartment, but it's very much a. But didn't you get engaged? Kind of apartment.
Then you got engaged that year or something, right?
Yeah, I don't actually know when I watched this movie. Actually, you know what?
So you were God,
I hate being old. I might have watched it after I got married, and then subsequently first separation. I don't actually know.
Okay.
Now.
All right, we'll leave that there.
And like another thing, actually, you've seen Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell, and it looks like his apartment too once he leaves his wife. Like, I don't know if you know that. Like, he gets his own shitty little apartment, and then he brings Marissa Tomei back, but that's a different movie.
That's a shitty apartment for men who are alone, I guess. That's the classic set. So Max then comes to Gogol's parents' house to pay her respects. But again, like you said, Noureen, she's doing what she knows instead of trying to figure out how to do what he needs, And so she's again like touching him in front of people, and she comes in wearing all black and everybody else is wearing all white. It's just like a mismatch. And then they have this conversation after the memorial ceremony, the Hindu religious memorial ceremony. They have this conversation about how she's basically like, come on a weekend away with me. He's like, I don't want to get away. And then she says, can I come to India to spread the ashes?
No way.
And he's like, yeah, no, that's a family thing. And then this made me think of, I was telling Brian in the car yesterday because we were driving somewhere. I was like, I think in like Western white culture, they give so much more importance to a girlfriend or boyfriend than they do in desi culture. It's like, girl, you're just a girlfriend. Sit down. You're not going to come for the ashes, And maybe in white culture, they think like that would be normal, but like that's not normal.
Shabnam, we can't say white culture. Sorry. We're talking about not South Asian culture.
We're talking about Western culture. We're talking about the like American culture.
We're using the terminology that we have available to us, everybody. We don't mean white people are all the same. But continue. I'm sorry.
I think that there is a stark difference, right? I think that in South Asian culture, first of all, we don't really have girlfriend boyfriends, right? Maybe that's something that we'll see change, but for now, it's just like Bengalis don't even have a word for relationship. In Bangla, we call it an affair, which is like not
interesting.
Well, like my mom will like we'll be talking and stuff, and she'll be like, so do you have an affair yet? And I'm just like, Mom.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. That's hilarious.
We don't have a word for relationship, right?
Yeah.
But because of that, I agree with you. I think that in South Asian culture, and the importance is to the person that you are getting married to, right? A fiance, a wife, a husband, right? Because that's when it's like, okay, you're for real. The way that I have described it, to people outside of South Asian culture is, I don't introduce my parents to anyone I'm dating until we're ready to get married, because otherwise, why are you important to them?
Yeah.
Like, and it's not saying that you're not important, but my parents want to know who I'm spending my life with, not who I'm just spending my time with.
Yeah. Yes,
That's a good one.
exactly.
Western culture. I agree with you. This girlfriend boyfriend thing, it's a little extreme. We said it a few episodes ago where we might get fun of, let's say, for being in an arranged marriage. Correct? Like that could happen. That's like a thing that can very easily happen in the United States. But my thing is it's similar to what you said, Noreen. It's like every person you spend time with, you guys are not you guys, but like Western culture, you're essentially marrying or having an entire life with someone because they go in deep. They bring in the parents, they
Yeah.
bring in the other parents, they move in together, they get dogs together. They get dogs together
Yeah.
and they're not getting married. Like you guys are the ones that are like doing multiple arranged marriages with several people throughout your life, and then you'll come and make fun of an arranged marriage. I'm not talking about a specific person, obviously. Like I'm just out loud.
Well, yes and no. I mean, like an arranged marriage, you don't choose, right? At least in this situation, right? You're seeing the person, you're dating them. So it's not really arranged because you chose for yourself. An arranged marriage, someone
Yeah,
else is choosing for you. But I do understand, like, both sides of the coin, right? And in one instance,
Yeah.
when they want to get to know the person before you marry them because you're going to spend a lifetime with them.
yeah,
But on the other side, I also understand that, like, I think having more weight to the parental introductions makes you take it more seriously, right? Because I
yeah,
think from my perspective, right, like, and I'm sure you guys is too, like, I'm not going to bring anyone around to my parents if I'm not serious about them. It's not like they don't want to know who I'm seeing and stuff, and that's not important, but it's just like, you better be treating this seriously because this is a serious thing that you're doing, which directly conflicts with a lot of, how Western society works, right? It's more of
yeah.
a
Hmm.
date around, and that's not bad. I'm just saying it's a direct conflict.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's complicated, and it's
Mhm.
we're American and we grow up here and we see everybody live a certain kind of way, and then obviously I feel for Kal Penn's character in this movie, like what's he supposed to do?
Yeah.
But at least he has the foresight to get back into his religion and culture and dump that white woman. I'm just kidding. Like you don't have to dump white
Oh
women,
God.
everybody.
Okay.
Noreen's like, dude, what is this? Like, white people love this show. By the way, they love Shabnam. They do. That's like nobody emails and they're like, oh, Sameem this, Sameem that. But Shabnam has like such concentrated takes where they're able to retain what we're saying in a very simple way. And I think that's like why we talk like this.
So you're just a personality hire.
I'm just here for the ride. Yeah.
Oh. Aw.
I'm a DEI
Aw.
hire.
Thanks. Thanks, meme.
Yeah.
Thanks. Your DII. But as you said, he does dump her. Okay. He basically dumps her because he doesn't like this whole ashes. And basically, I think he's grieving also, and she doesn't deal with his grief. So he dumps her. And next thing you know, his mom's like, hey, there's a single Bangladeshi girl, or not Bangladeshi, right? You would say Bengali because
Yeah.
she's not actually from Bangladesh. Yeah. So there's a single Bengali girl that you grew up with who was a total nerdy girl growing up. And she's like, do you want to take her out? And he's like, not really, but sure. He ends up taking her out. Turns out she turned into a hot French smoker because she lived for like a few years in Paris and left some guy at the altar, I think they said.
Yeah.
And so then they go on a date and they decide to see each other again. She cooks for him and then they get down in bed and he asks her for her body count like right at that time. Did you know? Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard
So
that. Yeah.
Sameem,
Well,
I
you
wrote
know,
in the notes, Sameem, for you. Is this normal for men? It seems like an insecure thing
oh, I
to
thought you were about to
like
ask
say.
my body count. I was like, this is not the podcast for the. Okay, sorry. I don't know. No, I don't think
No.
that's normal for men. I wouldn't ask.
Y-
But I'm also 46
Yeah.
years old. I'm
Yeah.
not. He's like 26, right?
Y-
I
She
would
does seem
never even. I don't even know how it would come up. I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And I think because she seems more experienced than him and he was probably insecure, which is probably why he
Hmm.
did ask it. But it does seem weird. What do you think, Doreen?
No, it's extremely weird, but I think that, like, we're seeing this development of a character through the movie, right? And so we're seeing him trying to find himself culturally, how to find himself, as an American, trying to find himself dating interracially. And so I think that it's every turn you go, we're still watching him grow and trying to, like, figure out who he is. And when he does this, I think part of it is both an immaturity thing, but I also think that he's just like, what is happening? Like, like like what is normal? What is not normal? Kind of, I thought I was the only odd one out, but maybe I'm not. Like, maybe
Yeah.
there's more of me there. I don't know. Maybe that's a weird take.
No, yeah, it makes sense.
He's
So,
like grieving,
so
right, when he gets with her too.
yeah,
So if he's grieving,
yeah,
and it does help to be with someone, obviously, like you could just say that in a
yeah,
generic sense. It doesn't even have to be like a relationship thing. And they sort of allude to it right after that scene where she's just like, "We got married because we're both Bengali." And then
yeah,
he
yeah,
doesn't
because then they do
agree.
get
He's
married.
like,
Yeah,
"No, I'm with you because I'm with you." So I don't actually know. It's kind of it was quick, right? This whole scene is like 5 minutes, so we have to like
yeah,
pretend like we know what they're thinking. But this is like, we joke about white people and Western culture. The reason why we joke so much, Noureen, is because this French lady comes in and she gets to do whatever she wants too, right? And she's Bengali.
French
So
Bengali. Yeah,
yeah, so
yeah,
that's why we say it, because we're being facetious. It's not all white people. We actually think everybody is quite similar. Everybody has the same emotional outputs, the same internal struggles. We all struggle with the same thing. Whoever we marry, doesn't matter what the color or religion is, right? So day to day,
yeah.
people are gonna be crazy regardless. And this lady and Pierre, by the way, fuck that guy. her her
Yeah.
her her affair partner.
Yeah. So they get married, and the name plays a big role in this, anyways, right? Like she says she doesn't want to change her last name. Then they go hang out with her friends, and she tells them his name is Gogol, like his pet names. And so we see this name thing come up again, but it's all like angsty between them. And then we find out that she is having an affair with Pierre. And I don't know why she married him. This kind of annoyed me because I'm like, we're with Pierre. Why'd you? They both, it feels like they rushed into it. They married because of grief, and maybe she wanted to please her family, and their connection didn't work.
I think a
I don't
lot of
know.
times when you're dating someone, right, and there's all this family pressure and societal pressure, I think, throughout the generations, right, you find someone and you're just like, for lack of a better term, your halal haram ratio matches, right? And you're
Oh my
like,
god.
cool, we're kind of on the same
Yeah.
wavelength. Fuck it, let's get married kind of situation. But there's
Yeah.
like so much more
Yeah.
to it that you don't consider.
Yeah.
You're just like, someone checked all the boxes and I vibe with them and my mom will be happy and it'll be fine. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how I felt the first time
Yeah.
I got married. It's just, I don't know. That's kind of what I was saying. I don't know why she married him, but it seems like maybe she had some familial pressure as well. Who knows?
Yeah, it seems like she did. So then we see that right around that time, Gogol's mom is deciding, like, hey, the kids are married because Gogol's little sister is married to a white guy named Ben. And so both her kids are married and settled. And she's like apparently only in her 40s still. So she's like, I'm going to go back to India and pursue a singing career. So she decides to sell their house, and they have one last Christmas party. And he does not bring Moshumi, his wife, because they are separated and on their way to divorce. And his mom, kind of gets worried, and she's like, should I not go to India? And he's like, no, you should. This is the first time in my life I felt free. And that was really interesting too, because I was like, that's kind of sad. But I don't know, Samim, you're the only one here who's been divorced. Did you feel free after you move on from it?
Damn, dude, throw my shit out there. No, I'm just kidding.
Sorry.
One thing, one thing I wanted to say, I was just like thinking about how Amy, is that her name? Moshumi.
Moshumi, I think. Yeah.
Moshumi. She's talking to Ashima at the house when they're cooking, and then
Yeah.
she asks her, "You're okay with Sonia being with the white guy?" And I think maybe
Yeah.
that's the push that she needed to break up with Gogol,
Yeah.
because she's
I
sort
thought
of
that too.
getting
Yeah.
permission for going outside her culture.
Yeah. That is interesting.
But what did you ask me? Sorry.
If you felt freer after your divorce, which I
Oh
don't know,
hell
maybe
yeah!
that's a stupid
Are you
question.
kidding me?
Yeah.
It's Sunday. I can't wait till this is over. No, I'm just kidding. Not like it's taking too long, but I want to go to the beach because it's 80 degrees out. So I don't know if that
Yeah.
has anything to do with my last marriage, but I think there's a correlation because when I was married, I wouldn't have done that.
Okay. Well, lucky for you, we're right at the end. So Ashima basically says her goodbyes to everyone at this last Christmas party at her home. She says goodbye to her friends, her children, the country where she grew to love her husband, and they spent their lives together. And she returns to India, and we see her singing and playing a sitar near the water, and it's this really beautiful scene. And that's the end.
Cool. What did you think?
It was a good
Noreen?
ending, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah, what'd you think?
It's such a good movie. It's such a good movie. It's such a tearjerker and it pulls at your heartstrings and it really reflects the immigrant experience so well, both from
Hmm.
the perspective of the parent, but also from the child too, and just the trials and tribulations of trying to find your place in both brackets.
Yeah. So, okay, Samim, do you want to do a little tea time? I think we had a lot of tea spilling throughout.
Yeah,
So,
I might have been a little messy today with my tea, but no, really quick. The only thing I wanted to say was I have read this book. The book is vastly different than the movie. So the book actually goes more through Gogol's dad's life, and it actually has an
interesting.
entire section of him at Yale, going to Yale,
Oh,
and none of that's in the movie. The biggest thing I wanted to say about the book versus the movie is in the book, Nikhil's character is unbearable. Like
oh,
he's the worst sort of South Asian kid you can think of. He's always after his parents, and the book is very dialogue heavy, like extremely dialogue heavy, because I don't think the movie could have been made like the book. Otherwise, it probably would have been like an
yeah.
extremely slow burn. And in the book, Gogol rails through 3 different white women.
Oh, wow.
That's
All right.
so in the book, it's one.
You mean in the movie it's one?
Sorry, in the movie,
Yeah.
it's one. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just trying to say it's like a little bit different. The book is it's pretty dense. My daughter read it, by the way, as well. So for her
Oh,
high school
interesting.
this last year, but I would read it again. I read it like 6-7 years back, but it's a good book. I didn't think it was very similar to the movie. Like
Interesting. Okay.
the thematic elements are a little bit different.
Interesting. So, Noureen, we mentioned this movie was directed by Mira Nair, and I saw a couple of pictures of you hanging out with her son, Zohran Mamdani. Do you have any fun stories about that? Any tea to spill?
Yeah, I have fun stories. I actually went to high school with Zoran.
Oh, cool.
So
Oh,
Oh, I
that's
didn't
so
know that.
cool.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
we have a little
Wait,
bit of
so
a
you went to high school with Bucky then too,
I
right?
did. I did. Yeah,
Yeah,
high school
cool.
buddy
Whoa.
too.
Yeah.
They're a few years younger, so we didn't really like hang out. But I do
Hmm.
remember, seeing little Zoran around because again, all the brown girls knew who his mother was, right? It was like,
Yeah.
Mm. Oh,
well,
so
by that point,
cool.
I think, Mississippi Masala, he had come out. I think Salam Bombay maybe as well, Monsoon
Yeah.
Wedding, right? So we were like, oh,
Hmm.
but he was always a very sweet, very, involved, loved playing soccer. We had a little field outside, so we would always play soccer. And I'm very
Cool.
honored to support him now, as a grown man
Yeah.
trying to make effective changes. I think he has had a amazingly brilliant campaign so far. And, I used to canvas many moons ago and I stopped canvassing because it was hot and I didn't like it. And he has just really influenced me to be interested in canvassing for him again, just because
Oh, wow,
he's
that's
been
so
so
cool.
great. And I think he really can make some really great, effective change in New York.
Yeah. We hope so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we definitely do, and we're excited to see what's to come for him and for you. And who knows, season 2 of Muslim Matchmaker. Maybe that'll happen. Maybe we'll see you back. Maybe we'll see Sameem. Who knows?
No one's gonna
I'm
see
gonna
my
be the
face ever.
matchmaker this time. It's gonna be a
Yeah.
trio. We're gonna
Oh,
be like the Powerpuff Girls.
You know what, Noreen?
oh, I like it.
Maybe me and you should make a new Muslim matchmaker. Call it Muslim.
The liberal edition.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
The Chaos Edition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would. No, I mean, come on. I'd make some real matches. I would go cross
Yeah.
culture.
Let's try it.
Come on.
Let's
I'm
try
down.
it.
Let's do
You
it.
sell it, and I'll be the personality hire this time.
I know a lot of divorced people.
Oh. All right. So thank you so much, Noreen. Thank you so much for joining us. It was so wonderful talking to you, and we look forward to seeing what's next for you.
Thank you so much. We're friends now. You guys wanted.
Yeah. Yay. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.